Good morning. It's Sunday, September 28th, 2025. My name is Teri Hunter. I am an intuitive and spiritual astrologer, and I'm here with your weekly horoscope. We're going to talk a little bit about what the planets are doing this week and how this is going to affect you. And then we're going to do a spread for each sign, starting with the birthday month. I've gone back to the basics of I'm going to use my angel deck. I'm going to use what I call my Camelot deck. And then I'm going to use a tarot deck. It'll be a 4-card spread, but it'll actually be 12 cards. Good morning, small wildflowers. Good morning, Katerina. I have to tell you, as I was getting ready, I was thinking, Katerina is always the first one in the room. And small, you beat her out by about, I don't know, a nose, a hair. So welcome, everybody. I want to say this because normally I would always say that I based my astrology readings on whole sign Western astrology. And I am into the Western astrology, but I really think looking at your chart in Placidus is becoming more and more important, because Placidus will show you the house structure. And if you are a late born rising sign, anywhere from 20 degrees, even 15 degrees, all the way through to up to 29 degrees, then your first house is actually the next sign over. So for me, as a 26-degree Aries rising, I'm really a first house Taurus. And you can see that, especially because my moon is there. And it makes a big difference if my moon is in the second house of Taurus versus the first house of Taurus. So look at that. I think that's super, super duper, duper important. All right. Big deal is this. Pluto is stationing to go. Are you at work, small wildflowers? Are you at Sunday work? Multitasking? All right. Let's talk a little bit about Pluto, because this is no joke. Okay. Pluto has not been in Aquarius for, good to hear, for, I don't know, 248 years. And the last time it was there, it was during the American Revolutionary War. Now, I say that because what I think is the theme of Pluto is personal freedom. Okay, wherever Aquarius is in your personal chart, and for me, when I go into Placidus, it pushes it into the 10th house of my career. And I think this is important because it's important for me to recognize what I'm building authentically versus what I'm building because I think it will work for the audience. And I don't mean you as an audience. I mean the people who judge me, who criticize me, who have influence over my self-esteem. Okay. So when we're looking at Pluto stationing in the sky at 1 degree, we're looking at Pluto being so strong. It's like almost like Pluto's like a boxer right here, okay? And that boxer is just like ready to take his punch, because whatever is in the way of Pluto right now, he wants to knock it over, or she wants to knock it over and get it out of the way. And I think this is echoed further by Pluto's sextile, hey little grasshopper, to Neptune and Saturn. Neptune wants to dissolve. Neptune wants to reinvent on some level in a dreamy way, because Neptune and Pisces is all about like an illusion, but it doesn't necessarily have to be I'm delusional. It could be how I create my life in a dreamy way. Because I was thinking about, because I'm being pummeled by these transits right now. And Lucky is definitely, in the final chapter of his being here, but we're not at the end yet. We had a really good day yesterday. Right now he's sleeping. We'll see how today goes, but I digress, because what's happening is with Saturn and Neptune on the world axis, it is wanting us to protect on some level what our version of self is, and to be super aware of our vibration, meaning how am I going about what I'm doing? Do I do it because this is like, I like this, I like running around and being busy, or do I do it because I have to do it? That's the major psychological Pluto dynamic, and Saturn representing the history, and Neptune dissolving the history that doesn't support the reinvention of the self. Okay, I hope that made sense, because I just think this is so important. And I think it's because when certain structures are dissolving, regardless of what it is, whether there's something happening, in your financial world, in your physical health world, in your emotional body, your partnership body, these are all opportunities for us to dig deeper into what is our authentic truth. I have this huge underbelly personally of like thinking I want certain things and then recognizing that when I get them, did I really want that, or did I get it so when somebody walks into my house and they're going to judge me and see if I'm worthy of whatever, they'll see that material object, which is, fancy or something, and they'll think it's great. They'll think I'm good, that I'm worthy. And that's something I didn't realize I did. I always thought I was kind of more independent and like, I don't really care what you think. And so this has been coming up for me. And it's also been coming up for me, like how certain chapters and certain things come in your life to enhance them. But it doesn't mean that they're meant to anchor them. Like an enhancement is a constant expansion. And through that, there's constant movement. So this is what Pluto's doing. Pluto's in Aquarius. And this is the other thing about Pluto and Aquarius. Aquarius by nature is not emotional. Good morning, Paul Freed. Nice to see you. Welcome to the room. Hi, 145 Club. Pluto is not emotional by nature. I mean, Pluto maybe demonstrates dominance and even anger potentially, like, being the co-ruler of Scorpio. But at the same time, there's this steel about Scorpio. I guess if you're going to represent the criminals, you're going to have to be able to, execute your crime with a certain amount of lack of emotion or empathy to the other party. Now we have Aquarius, which is not necessarily very emotional either. It's very much about the future, the greater good. The needs of the one are not as important as the needs of the many. Now you have these two energies together. And I feel like this could very much indicate that some of the things that are going on feel a little callous, like they're kind of brutal. They're happening in it could be gentler. And I think that the gentleness comes from within. How much will we psychologically, I don't want to say baby, but nurture ourselves during this transitional time? Because something is without a doubt dissolving. So the main things that I think you guys should look for are, where is Pluto in my chart right now? And where is Saturn and Neptune hovering in, between the Pisces and Aries energy? Because that conjunction hasn't happened for almost 1,500 years. And that's important because we all chose to incarnate on the planet at this time to be the ages that we are and have had the experiences that we've had to take advantage of this transit. I had some really bad days this week where I literally thought Lucky wasn't going to make it through the day. And I, had to wrestle with, do I run out and stress him and do the vet thing and all that? And everything was pulling on me not to do that, and I have herbs that I use and things. And I just went full bore on that and kind of looked like it can't get worse. And it got better. And so while I know our time is still very limited, he's at ease more. And he's breathing better. He made a nice poopy for me this morning. So I'm trying to reframe things and remember why whatever is dissolving right now in my life, why it was so powerful in its creation. Because we can't avoid these things. I'm sorry, I hate to say it. Okay, we have also coming up, Pluto is actually going to go direct on the 15th of October. But this station is going on now. It's literally stopped. Oh, Paul, that's so neat. That's such a great way to honor her. And don't think she's not going to be there. She might even be hanging out with Elvis. You never know. Katerina, never say my when you're talking about something that's not pleasant. Just say the, so you put it outside of yourself and it helps energy move away. You had a bad, I don't want to say it was a bad week, but boy, yeah, last week was, I'm glad is in the rearview mirror. I'll be honest with you. Okay, so this week we have Venus is in fall in Virgo. And I want to offer this because Venus in Virgo really plays a little bit to the idea of being perfect, to the idea of how other people perceive her perfection, her process, her analyzing things, how she's, and this is again where I feel like Pluto's influence, while they're not having a conversation necessarily right now, meaning Venus and Pluto, I still think this is the underbelly because Venus is becoming conjunct the South Node. And that South Node is asking again, it's Neptunian in some respects because there's an erosion, there is a dissipation, there is I hate the word release because it feels so arduous to me. But the idea of integration to understand why something challenging has either afforded me more definition of what I want, or it's given me more clarity in who I am as a spiritual being. Will I surrender to spirit and understand the infiniteness of what we are, that there is no real death, there is no real destruction, there is no financial loss, that everything is vibrational, and that as I align to the vibration that suits where I want to go. Because one of the most powerful things for me this week was in my prayer, which was very busy. I wasn't praying peacefully. My mind was all over the place. I kept having to pull back, and I just kept saying, let me have ease for this process and let Lucky have the ease of process. Guide me to know what to do and help me to be calm when I can't do anything. And I felt like this was part of the what was starting to align was Lucky's a very energetic being. So while he may be compromised, me being worried also compromises him. And I noticed yesterday, I walked to the store or whatever, the coffee place without him. And I cried the whole way there and back. And when I got home, he was waiting for me. And I made him some bacon. And he ate it. And then I made him some Wagyu burger and he ate it. And I gave him some pizza crust and he ate it. So he had a full day of like nothing good for him, but he was eating. And this is something he hasn't been doing. So I'm aware of my alignment, okay, surrendering to whatever the process is. Venus in Virgo aligning to the South Node. He's coming out now. I can hear his little feet walking. Hi, buddy. Did you know I was talking about you? Okay. Anyway, because be mindful of that. We're going to have on the 4th is when it will be exact at 18 degrees. And I think that's a little bit of a challenging degree. We also will see on the 2nd. So on Venus is currently in Virgo in fall, and she's coming into conjunction with the South Node. Now, Venus rules our money. Venus rules our partnerships. So Venus rules women. So as it comes up on the South Node, you could find like things happening that feel repetitive. Like, I always seem to have this kind of girlfriend, or I always seem to have this kind of argument about money, or something could come up. And being aware is helping you already start the design of the 2.0 version. How funny, Walmart's taking your food to the wrong door. Mercury will be conjunct Spica, the voice of angels, on the 2nd of October this week. And that is really a great day, and the day around it, to connect with spirit, to talk to your guides, your angels, to the people, your team. It's very hard for me to think that there's actually one God sitting on some sort of throne with Jesus over here. You okay, bud? With Jesus over here and the Holy Spirit over here. It just seems way too boring for God to do that all day long. So to me, he's having a little cough right now. You okay, Buzz? Yeah. Thank you. I feel like the energy, love, intention, source is all very much more the God Jesus stuff, and that we have beings around us that have different vibrational levels of awareness, and we come together to support ourselves. And when we come under the physical veil, they are around us. So my point is this: Mercury rules your communications, of course. It rules your everyday activities. It rules your mind. But your mind is actually ruled by your emotions. So if you can connect where your emotions are, and if you're in a wobble, to say to your team, I need help. I'm in a wobble. I need help to focus and alignment. Give me the wisdom of this moment that's putting me in a dip or putting me in out of balance. Because we're going to come up on a full moon on the 6th, and that's going to be in Aries, and it's going to Mercury will have entered Scorpio on that day, and it will be conjunct the Shapley attractor, which is an opportunity to release any false attachments to thoughts or to speech or to communities or people or daily activities that don't serve a stronger intention. Oh, 145 Club. That's so beautiful that he's 16. Chihuahuas are really, they do tend to last a long time, which I think is so wonderful. But, when you get an animal, you know this chapter of life is coming, but it's never effortless, And I'm really just trying to take Lucky's cue. He is pretty peaceful, honestly. I like that he's I think after the show, I'm going to try making him some bacon and see what happens. And we start that train again. I don't care what he eats right now, as long as he is happy and as long as he's walking towards the food. I was a little distressed this morning when I made like 3 different things and he didn't get too excited. But mornings seem to be a little bit challenging for him right now. And I don't know, maybe he has a bug. I don't know, because I think he has heart disease, honestly. I really do. And when I started giving him the hawthorn berry, and I was just giving it to him every few hours, like every 4 hours, I give him a dropper full, it felt like it was starting to help him feel a little less. Anyway, enough of that. Let's go on to our readings. Okay, so as I said before the show started, or before most of you got in the room, I've gone back to basics. We're going to use the Camelot deck, the Angel deck, and the Tarot deck, and we're going to marry them together, and we're going to do a spread for each sign. Now, I want to offer this because I keep seeing. I don't know if my dog could possibly have a virus. I don't know where he would get it from. But again, we see all sorts of dogs on the way. On our walk to the coffee house. So I'm looking forward to trying that tomorrow morning again. But anyway, all right. This is where I'm going. During this particular week and coming up in October, because we're going to have, again, Pluto's going to move direct. And once Pluto moves direct, we're digging deep into the Aquarian energy. And it's really about looking to the future, not what you have experienced, because the world is going to shift in ways you can't imagine. And when I was much younger, this whole idea wasn't even possible unless you were gathering somewhere in person, meaning having a Sunday morning meeting, being able to reach people, in remote places. So try your best to start to frame how it feels when you're stepping into the next chapter. As I walk through this with Lucky, I'm like, when he transitions, I want to feel a sense of peace about it, that I did a good job, and that, he knows he was loved, and that he knows, and I want that sense of completion. And so I just imagine, and I also thought, if I'm prepared for him to go, then he won't go. There was this weird feeling. So I'm trying to say that use Neptune's energy to dream. Use Neptune's energy to talk to spirit. Take advantage of Mercury being conjunct Spica, and really put out there that you need help. You need, clarity. You need an experience. You need something. You're in this physical apparatus. Spirit does not expect you to be superhuman. Okay. They know that you are in this apparatus. They know your truth is compromised within this physical being. But as you step into this conversation, you start vibrationally expanding beyond that, which is what I think the whole point is anyway, is to be aware of the spiritual nature of who you are and the huge manifester that you are when you put your intention and you connect with spirit and you focus. And that's why when Mercury comes up on the Shapley attractor, in a few weeks, you let go of those false thoughts that I'm not strong enough, I'm not bright enough, I don't have enough money, I don't have enough blah, blah, blah. And so when you start those exercises and when you see yourself veer off into spooky territory, then you just say, okay, spirit, help me get back into balance. This is part of the contrasting experience that helps me define more and more what it is that I want to experience and makes me feel more powerful within that dynamic. So be mindful of that. And I really want to say too, because with Venus ruling money in Virgo, coming up on the South Node, y'all got to be careful about work. Okay, let's just put out the mundane dynamic of that, because wherever that is in your chart, there could be, a feeling of losing of some sort of friendship, losing a sense of confidence. You could experience feeling super judged or criticized. You could, have a relationship that's been teetering and it just kind of ends up separating in some way. I think this conjunction is going to be quite interesting. And you know what else it could be? It could also be this. Those of that are standing in awareness as Venus becomes conjunct the South Node could very well be like, I'm not going to listen to that old story about myself. I'm not going to listen to the old story about the kind of people of female energies I hang out with. I'm not going to tell the old story about how I receive, how I gestate, how I create. That's all Venus. I'm not going to tell the old story, or I don't need to tell the old story anymore about my money, about anything that has to do with Venus. And that's where the awareness is so important. And the potential wobble could come in, where you re-engage your guides. I mean, when I look at the fact that Lucky Sun is hovering over Neptune and Saturn, okay, or they're hovering over his sun. And then I have my South Node there. So we're both karmically something is being washed away, something is being dissolved. But does it have to be my happiness or whatever thread of happiness I have? Or could it be something that was historically distasteful and erosive to me? I really am having to push my humanness on my humanness, even though I talk about this stuff every week, to find my truth within all of this. What do I really believe? And the truth is I do believe all of this. So it's a stretch. It's a stretch. I don't know what Alcyon, I think that's Alcyon. I'm not familiar with that. I'm assuming that's an asteroid of some kind. I don't know that, J-Dog. And honestly, my focus every day has been more on my dog, J-Dog, than it is looking at the stars and studying right now. I'm just really trying to stay. I don't want to say that I'm trying to stay afloat. But what I feel like I'm on some kind of like stormy sea, where the storm is coming and going, and each wave that propels me up is requiring me to stand in some sort of weird balance that is precarious and dangerous. So trying to push my story forward with astrology right now and get the monthlies out and all of that is so, I would be doing it on a vibration that I don't think would be serving the audience or serving me. And that's what the whole point is, because this channel will grow. And I don't know if it'll grow in viewership, but in my content, I just got to walk through whatever this. I mean, I have the South Node about to hit my Venus natally. I have it about to hit my Pluto, which very much makes me think Lucky might cross. I have Chiron on my ascendant. I have Neptune and Saturn on my South Node. Something is shifting. And I don't want to do whatever I've been doing in any subsequent lifetimes or experiences in any physical realm. I want to feel more peace, more ease, more connection than I do. So I want to be very mindful during this time, because somewhere my soul decided to be here, to do this, to walk through this. So I ask you all to look deeper into what you really want. And you don't have to know it like, oh, I want, $30,000 tomorrow. You can know, I want a sense of peace and ease with the flow and the surrender. Now that's a favorable thing. South node trining your south node so you must have your south node either in, you probably have it in Taurus, don't you? I bet you have it in Taurus. Pia, good morning. We haven't seen you in a while. So I feel like all of us are, see, I do know my astrology a little bit, don't I? Okay, because that's going to be very important, because that Taurus is going to be about yourself, your skills, your history, your personal history. So many things about what you grow. Taurus is a grower. That's what I think. Patient, plodding, and Taurus is loyal and loving. Taurus is a little slow for some people, but it's solid. All right. Let's go. We're going to start with our Libras. Happy birthday, my early born Libras. Now let's just talk about your life right now. Early born Libras, early born cardinal signs, Aries, Cancer, Capricorn, and obviously Libra. You're going to feel the aspect of Saturn and Neptune in some way or another, because it's hovering at that beginning of Aries, right? So if you're an Aries, you're feeling that conjunct your sun or your rising, whatever planets are there. If you are in the Cancer or the Capricorn energy, you're going to feel the square, and then obviously the opposition. I think it's so important for my Libras to focus in on balance rather than focusing in on love and partnership. And balance is a sense of understanding that sometimes disruption brings in balance. Libra Sun, Scorpio rising. What degree Scorpio rising? Because that'll give us a lot of because that literally puts your sun in the 12th house, Libra. So sometimes you might feel that people don't see you, or that your sun isn't your light isn't shining as brightly, or it can feel a little invisible. 12th house can be very challenging, because it's a house that asks you to transcend whatever is packed in there, right? So you would be transcending the ego if it's your sun. All right. Let's focus in on our Libras, rising moon, sun, and stelliums. I really, really, again, I'm going to emphasize the Placidus idea. I feel like all the time I spent in whole sign, I was somehow wrong. And it's great if you're, early born, early degree rising. But if you get into the later degrees, 15 and on, then your first house really changes. So again, check it out in Placidus. I think you'll find it resonates more. All right. Our first angel is Bridget for our Libras. Look deeper into a situation. And there's something going on about anger, but we're going to see. Okay. All right. Let's look. We've got a few more cards before I start jawing on. Now, I'm a Libra sun, and you guys have watched me age. You started watching me in my late 50s, and now here I am pushing into my late 60s. 21. So yes, so you're very scorpionic, and maybe even a little Sagittarian, depending upon your first house and how big it is. So you are super intuitive, and you're here to learn about your power and control and your perspective. So that's very powerful. I think Scorpio is the most intuitive sign in the zodiac. All right, then we have the frog joining Bridget upside down. We have the focus card joining Archangel Uriel. We have the love card joining Maya. And then we have the mystery card joining Omega. Oh, thank you, J-Dog. I haven't felt amazing in a very long time, I will tell you. Probably not since last year. And even then, I'm not sure I felt amazing, but I was feeling a little bit better. All right. Our tarot card for our Libras joining Bridget, the frog. The frog is reversed, by the way, and the Three of Cups is reversed. So, okay, this is getting good. We have the Devil reversed joining the Focus card and Archangel Uriel. We have the Eight of Swords reversed joining the Love card and Maya. I forgot what good stories, when you put these cards together, they tell. And finally, the Four of Swords joining the Mystery card and the Victory card. Okay. So for my early born Libras, okay, early rising sun, if you're an early moon, early degrees, right? So if you have your north node, south node, if you have Mercury or Venus, any planets there, it's important to pay attention because Bridget wants you to look deeper into the situations you're in. Very often Libra, strong Libra energy, and I don't have a strong Libra energy, by the way. I have much stronger other energies. My sun may be Libra, but it's weak because the sun is in fall in Libra. Because something wants to leap off. Something wants to be cleaned out of your brain. I think of the frog as, when it talks about cleaning the house and releasing emotional baggage, I think of it as the thoughts, because, we chew on things. Our emotions end up chewing on things. And here's this Three of Cups upside down. And I feel like it's calling Libra to look deeper into, are you implementing your wisdom? The Three of Cups is a harvest card. In the traditional Rider-Waite deck, you see three women of three different ages, young, medium, and older, and there's pumpkins everywhere, and they're celebrating what they've been growing. Are you, Libra, celebrating what you've been growing, or are you discounting it because somehow you're moving on back into that weird, I got to be harmonious. I've got to sort of, because this would be Archangel Uriel's trying to work with resentment and anger, but it's upside down. And this Devil card just doesn't feel like the devil to me. It feels like, because it's reversed, it feels like restriction, limitation, where old stories have been coming in, that Saturn energy, which is right now opposing Libra. And then there's the Focus card. So this makes me think that maybe Libra's focused in on what has been and is inadvertently this always happens to me. I always end up in this situation or in this dynamic because in the angel's advice is Maya, the angel of schooling and education. Here is the Love card, okay? And then here's the Eight of Swords upside down. So this is like literally Spirit saying, Libra, you're not paying attention to your own evolution, what you've been growing. If there's a situation that's triggering you back into your old story and inadvertently, you're feeling like you're, one step forward, two steps back, Spirit's saying that's not true. That's a turn of the head, because here is victory. Here is moving into smoother waters. It's also protection from Spirit. And then there's the lovely focus, mystery card. You got to choose it. You got to choose your victory. You have to choose your focus. So I'm a Libra sun, and I'm a storyteller. When I got lucky, I wasn't planning on getting a dog. It was completely out of nowhere. And hey, Cece, welcome to the room. And they didn't allow dogs in the building, and all of a sudden, here I am. I've got this dog, and I fall in love with this dog like nobody's business. Now, this dog has my moon right in the middle of his Jupiter and his Venus. Jupiter rules entrepreneurs and money, and so does Venus in Taurus, in my first house. Within 2 years of getting this dog, I started my own business. And that's what Spirit showed me while Lucky's going through this transition. I got him when Neptune had moved into Pisces in the early degrees, and now here's Neptune in the later degrees. And I'm not sure because that's a 14-year cycle. I'm hoping I have a little more time. This is a perfect, he literally started my business. So Libra, your job is to look deeper into the work that you've been doing, into all the things, and not discounting them to move on to the next thing that needs to be done. Because while it's not really gripping, okay, because these cards are inverted, there's still some sense of anchor or limitation. And there's some focus on what is not. And that's very natural during this time, by the way. Plus, Libra, your ruling planet, Venus, is in Virgo. And she's about to hit the South Node later on in this month during your birthday month. So it could feel a little funky. But Spirit is applauding on some level your recognition and your willingness to get out of your own way, but there's still a little journey to go because it comes through love, and that's self-love. So choose you and start carving out that time, whether it's mental time, emotional time. It doesn't have to be about getting away from people. It doesn't have to be about stopping something. It's about really being aware of the vibration of how you're going about it. The be, do, have. What is my belief? What is my attitude? What is my disposition when I endeavor a physical activity or a mental activity that requires my, if you think about it, the emotional body has no organ, okay? There's no liver for your emotional body. There's no kidneys, but your brain is how you think, right? Without your brain, you can't think. And without your physical apparatus, you really can't move, but you can still emote. That's really powerful. I don't know why I said that, but it makes a lot of sense because it's what represents the soul the most is your emotions. And the awareness of that is your manifester. Okay. I know it's so nice to have us in the room today. We got 18 people that I can see, and we've got Smalls here, and I'm here, and I feel like a little bit more like my old self again, thank God, or whoever's running the show. All right, we're going to go onto our Scorpios, rising moon, sun, and stelliums. Scorpio moon, most intuitive thing in the whole. I mean, depending upon the aspects, you could be afflicted, but Scorpio, and you're so charged, meaning this. Your soul charged yourself, puts you on a stretch to understand your power. And in relation to potentially people who try to overpower you, or in relation to how you potentially overpower others. And to understand, I think, for Scorpio, to become more compassionate to the frailty of human nature, because Scorpio can be, in its more challenging dynamic, it'll use your North Node in Scorpio is about claiming your power. It's about claiming your, running the show. It's about understanding your intuitive body. I always think that Scorpio is so intuitive because Mars is also the co-ruler, right? So you've got the criminal of Pluto and Mars, the warrior. And in those two things, criminals have to plan things out. They have to know their opponent. They have to be sneaky on some level. And Mars, being the warrior, he's got to beat his opponent, be smarter. So Scorpio is super strategic. If your North Node is there, then you've been overly attached to having to do things on your own. That's Taurus. Overly attached to maybe even seeing things that were not in balance and not letting people help you. Because the Scorpio is also about other people and other people's resources. Okay, back to our Scorpio reading now, Katerina. I hope that helped. That's what you're stretching for, though, in this lifetime. It's to feel the power of your own creation. Money-wise, intuitively. I mean, I'd want to look at the rest of your chart to narrow down, what the North Node, because I know exactly where my North Node and what it's doing. And it's never doing what other people think it's supposed to be doing because they look at it in whole sign, first of all, and that puts Libra in the 7th house. It's really the 6th house, and it's at the 3rd degree. My 3rd degree is that Gemini degree, I think, according to Nikolai, plus it's the Jupiterian degree. So I'm here about something very different. I'm here to bring balance and harmony and to be of service, to have people recognize how they think and how that helps create their balance and their harmony. And every other astrologer in the world says, I'm here to get married and to acquiesce to another partner. I'm like, no, that's not it. No, never was, never will be. Okay, here we go. Scorpio. Opal is our first angel. Then we have Archangel Raphael. Then we have Serena, and she's reversed. And then we have Maya straight up. You're welcome, darling. Thank you for coming every week and spending your precious life force energy with us. Maya, again, I know, because we're all going through an education. We're all going through an awareness education. Opal is being joined by the fire fairy, but that's inverted. The novice is inverted. The dog is straight up. And then the movement card. Okay. So early born Scorpios, you are feeling the fixed signs. You know, you are any planets, again, in your charts. I have Neptune at 6 degrees of Scorpio, so I'm not quite feeling that yet. But Pluto is going to start, you know, making that aspect. And this is where Pluto wants to transform. Now, if indeed the awareness journey has taken you into a place of powerful co-creation, then whatever Pluto brings in could potentially be the reward, moving you into your future because it's in Aquarius. But if there's something hanging around that is thwarting your journey into your future, it could inadvertently be interrupted. All right, we've got the Scorpio, we've got the Hierophant, we've got the Fire Fairy reversed and Opal in the foundational position. We have the Tower reversed, the Novice, and then Archangel Raphael in the opportunity or the obstacle. In the Angel's Advice, we have Serena, the dog upside down, the dog, and then the Six of Swords is upside down, reversed. And then finally, we have Maya, the movement card, upside down, and then the Nine of Wands. Okay. In this deck, and each deck, while the cards mean the same things with different art, for me, the artist and the pull to wherever I'm going with the cards spirit brings. So look at this Hierophant. There's not a lot of religious depiction in this one, but rather much more Taurus. So somewhere, Scorpio, where are you being stubborn? Where are you not honoring your own fire? Because when I look at Opal, this is talking about your inner child. It's not talking about your children out there in the world. If you have them or don't have them, that may be the case. But here, something is, there's a thwarting of optimism. There's a thwarting of creativity because something is not being honored that comes from a deeper place. Now, I want to offer this because there's this comedian. He's Asian. He's on The Masked Singer. I can't think of his name right now. It's on the tip of my tongue. He used to be a doctor. Okay. He was in the oh God, what were those movies when they went to Vegas? Oh my God, you guys help me. I'm going to say the Korean leader, the North Korean leader. He was a doctor. In any case, my point is this. He followed his passion. The Hangover. Thank you, Cece. He was in The Hangover. You guys, okay, so you know what I'm talking about. Because I think that it's really important not to marry yourself to something, even if you've invested thousands of dollars in an education. If it's not ringing your bell, if it's not clocking your, ticking your clock, whatever, we need to start to open up because the Tower is an interesting thing. It's upside down. So this to me feels like almost like I need to be a little bit rebellious. I need to be a little like, what do I want? Because this is also a history card, okay? And fixed signs, especially Scorpio, once you get yourself locked up and pissed off about something, if the other side does not honor whatever it is you're feeling, you don't quite get over it because here's the healer, right? And we're not allowing for a new beginning. Something, my mom used to say, don't cut off your nose to spite your face. And I used to hate it when she'd say that, but I have Mercury in Scorpio, so I could cut my nose off to spite my face. You're blocking your abundance. You're blocking, somehow there's a block happening. And I think it's emotional. We're not able to move past something. We're not able to move to, because here's the love, loyalty, and sincerity. No face tattoos, no face tattoos, no face tattoos. But I don't know where that came from. Maybe a conversation. Because here in the final position, it's interesting because when I look at this, somehow Scorpio is actually thwarting their forward movement. And Maya is schooling and education, but I don't think it's traditional schooling. I think it's your spiritual education, what you know. The movement card is upside down. And then the Nine of Wands is here. So there's still some bit of trepidation and guarding of myself. And I totally get that because, when I'm at a place where emotionally I'm being triggered There's certain things that I can be very brave at very easily. And there's other things that always get me. And I've had a lot of animals and I've always treated them naturally. I am not a run to the vet girl. I am not a drug girl. I don't even have Advil or aspirin in my freaking house, nothing. Okay. So when it comes to the dog, Venus, in Virgo, no less, I wrestle with myself because somewhere, Scorpio, you're wrestling with yourself. And there's a part of you that's sticking into your history or going back somewhere and not allowing the new story to be told. And if this hasn't come up yet, then be mindful of it, because as Pluto stations at 1 degree of Aquarius, it's going to hit you in a square. And that means there's a tension. There's something that could potentially come outside of yourself that may challenge you. And I want you to think this is not about going around in a circle and doing it again. This is an opportunity to really demonstrate a resolve for what is sacred to you and what you hold dearest, and not necessarily listen to other people. So let's just go back to this hangover idea, right? This guy, this Asian guy, gosh, Ken, is his name Ken? Ken? I think it's Ken. I don't know. I might be wrong. Anyway, he is a doctor, right? Everybody in the whole world, including, his family, his wife, probably said, you have a great career. You're making great money. And he decides to go try to be a comedian, random. And he gets this random little movie that turns into 3 movies and then turns into him being on television all the time with these random competition shows. Because somewhere, Scorpio, you can rewrite your world, but you're going to have to be a little bit brave about stepping into the new world and not being pissed off if the new old world tries to grab you back. I guess that's the way I want to put it. All right, let's move on. Sagittarius, rising moon, sun, and stelliums. My mom had so many sayings that I despised, like, do as I say and not as I do. I hated that one. And suffer, it builds character. Those two suck, okay? I'd be like, I don't think I need to suffer, and I have plenty of character, Mom, so I don't think that's necessary. And then what she would do as I say and not as I do, I just thought straight up, F you. You know what? I don't want to, if you won't eat your peas, I don't want to eat my peas, okay? My parents are why I never had children. Literally. They did such a shitty job. It's not even funny. Okay, Sagittarius, let's look and see what's happening for you this week. Oh, they really did. My mom is still alive, and she literally is the most repeatedly abandoning non-maternal human ever. She reaches out once every 15 years or so because she's trying to contrive something, or she's in a fight with my sister. God, I really need to talk to my guides about picking families next time. I really can't wait to figure out what the hell was going on, because I've asked a million times and I know I get if they weren't the way they were, you wouldn't be you. It's got to be something more, because this is just too absurd. These people are too absurd. Sagittarius. All right, let's go. Crystal says, have faith and hope. There's more on the horizon than you can't see. Maya, schooling and education. That's 3 for 3. Maya's coming out. We have Aurora, but she's reversed. And then we have Patience, and she is reversed. Crystal is being joined by the Risk card. Maya is being joined by the Frog. The Risk card was reversed, by the way. Aurora is being joined by the Novice card. And Patience is being joined by the Grail Knight. Now, as I start to shuffle the tarot deck, I want to remind my Sagittarius people that there are 2 very powerful points in Sagittarius. 14 degrees is the great attractor. 27 degrees is the galactic center. The great attractor has a pretty wide orb. I think it's 5 to 12 degrees. And then the galactic center is a very tight orb, 1 to 3 degrees. Any planets accesses like your rising or your midheaven or anything. These are very powerful points to complement your intention, to allow you. The great attractor is literally like a tractor beam where you're just like whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. But your job is to imagine it effortlessly rather than having to, effort. All right, here we go. Now we have the Six of Swords straight up, joining crystal. We have the moon joining the frog and Maya. We have the Eight of Swords joining the novice and Aurora reversed. And then we have the Emperor joining Patience and the Grail Knight. All right, Sagittarius. Crystal is all about faith, but she's also about intention. There's a certain amount of, we see this angel depicted rather transparently. So this to me sees something's becoming solid, okay? And you're going to have to risk something because you might be afraid to risk something. And that risk might even be believing in yourself. But here's the Six of Swords. This is moving into this is literally a moving card. And while normally there's a sense of sorrow attached to this card, I'm not feeling that sense of sorrow. It's almost as if when I look at this, that I feel like maybe I feel better than I should feel. Like if I call my mom and I'm like, you know what, I think everything's going to be fine. And your mom's like, well, you don't have a job. You don't have a girlfriend. You don't have a boyfriend, whatever. You're like, I don't know. I think maybe there's something going on here because in Maya, in the angel's advice and the frog and the moon, now the moon is about Piscean confusion normally, right? But what if this is about you going back and forth between, anchoring yourself, which is why there's still that risk factor, right? I'm betting on myself somehow in an energetic way. If I allow myself to venture down this lane, believe this thing, I can, the Golden Bachelor, right? People might laugh about this, but I've been talking about older people finding love and finding fulfillment long before that show was ever on the air. And it's very similar in vibrationally to me. Somewhere for Sagittarius, there's like a stepping out into a place of, it's not solid. You can't see it, but you can feel it. And that's where I think the schooling and education is coming in, and where you're being gentle with the foggy back and forth energy. Because Aurora is saying, you're not quite ready to jump off and leap yet, because we're still having to anchor in the energy of feeling confident. Here's the new beginning being offered by the novice. And the new beginning is recognizing, this goes back to the moon for me. Okay. This Eight of Swords is where you sort of get in your own way. You feel wrapped up with a million different ideas and thoughts and things and possibilities. And the moon, this could be where you're going. It goes back and forth. It'll happen. It won't happen. I need this, but I always think when I have some sort of emotional upset and the calendar goes quiet, that I need to run out and get a job. No, never. I need to walk through whatever I'm walking through, and then the clients will come back. Because for Sagittarius, patience is usually a time of learning and studying. But I don't think that's what Spirit is saying today. I think it's not about learning. It's about standing firmly for what you want. Emotionally, romantically, what is sacred to you? What will you hold above? Some people it's God. Some people it's their job. Some people it's their family. Some people it's their individuality. This would indicate venturing into new space somewhere. This is the Aries energy. So I think for Sagittarius, because Aries is complementary to the Sagittarius energy, that Neptune and Saturn could on some level be eroding something or dissolving something or bringing some sort of history back that would be at a soul level. Okay. So it's not just about what you've experienced in this lifetime. And if it feels like there's something on repeat in this lifetime, now is your opportunity to risk imagining it being smoother, imagining an alignment, imagining how it would work out, and then holding that repeatedly. And even if you wobble, because Spirit will expect it, you just keep coming back to center. All right, because this is that Aries energy, and it's also about sitting on the throne of your own life, strong, unyielding. Okay, onward and upward. I can't tell you what contentment I feel seeing Lucky sitting over there, breathing easily, or effortlessly, I should say, calmly, even though he didn't have breakfast. I think these herbs are working because I think it's too soon for him. Now I just need to get him well enough so I can give him a bath, because he's so dirty that if I took him to the vet, they would think he was a homeless dog, because he's long hair and it's all matted. I try to do stuff and he fights me, and I don't want to put him in the tub and stress him out. All right. Are we on to our Capricorns? We absolutely are. Let's go Capricorn, rising, moon, sun, and stelliums. I know. Sometimes I wonder if he's faking it, like he's just pretending so he can get all of the things he wants, all his treats and all his apples. He has not had a normal dog meal in a week. I try to give him one, but he won't eat it. He wants apples, mashed potatoes, carrots, tuna fish. He wants salmon. He wants hamburgers. All right, Capricorn, here we go. Our first angel is Daniel, the angel of marriage and partnership. Then we have Caressa. A life cycle is ending. We have Ray reversed, and then Fiona. All right. Capricorn, you just had Pluto going through your first house, and it wasn't easy. It never is. Sorry. I always want to do these in the same order for some reason. And I want to offer this because now it's going through your second house. And Daniel, the angel of marriage, is not just about marriage. It's about partnership. It's about your history in partnership and what you think about it. It could be professional partnerships. We'll see. Because when you are in a professional partnership and you come together to make money, that's like a marriage. All right. Daniel's being joined by the death card reversed. Then we have Caressa being joined by the novice. Then we have Ray upside down being joined by the high priestess. And we have Fiona being joined by Merlin upside down. And again, the Capricorn energy is feeling Saturn and Neptune in this, all the cardinals are feeling that Saturn-Neptune conjunction on the world axis. So, yeah. We have Daniel, the death card reversed, and the Ace of Wands reversed in the foundational position. We have Caressa, the novice, and the judgment card reversed in the opportunity or the obstacle. We have Ray reversed, the high priestess, and the Ace of Cups in the angel's advice. And then in the final position, we have Fiona, Merlin reversed, and the Hermit reversed. Okay. Again, Daniel is about partnership, okay? And when I look at this and I see Daniel and the death card reversed and the Ace of Wands reversed, it would have me thinking that Capricorn is having an opportunity to really look at the collaborations in their lives, okay? And how that collaboration is inadvertently putting you in a place of duty and responsibility, potentially, or obligation, or are these putting you in a place of passion, a place of creative excitement? And when I say creative, not everything creative is writing or making art. Creativity is when you're building something that you're jazzed about. And I don't care if you're building, a house of cards or you're writing a to-do list. It's a form of building, and the attitude you have about it is important, because what I think is there is something that's closing. The death card upside down tells me it feels like it's already known. It's not a tragic transition. It might be one, you could have got laid off from your job. You could have, it doesn't have to be a relationship with a lover, because this doesn't really feel like it. It feels like work related. The novice is a new beginning, okay? And the Caressa is a new beginning. Something is ending in a new beginning. And then we have this judgment card reversed, which is interesting to me because that's Pluto. So this is not, you might have even seen it coming. for all I know, Capricorn. You might have been feeling it coming, or you feel it coming. We just went through eclipse season. Some door is closing and there's a potential for a new door to open, but the way the door will open regardless. How it opens is up to you, because Ray is asking you, because you're not doing it, to connect with spirit, to sit down and actually, there's the high priestess. Please talk to the high priestess. And even the Ace of Cups is not about love right now. It's about the connection to your emotional body and connecting to spirit and opening a space for possibilities. Because Fiona is saying, now that you ask God and the angels for help, be open to receiving. Then we have Merlin upside down. This is not balanced yet. This might be where you're trying to drive the bus through your old Capricornian ways, where you're just like, well, I'm just going to go, I have to do it this way. Because the Hermit is upside down as well. And this feels like I'm blocking the magic. I'm blocking the alchemy. I'm blocking something because I'm not allowing for the gestational period and connection to spirit that's required to manifest the next phase or the next stage. So even if, let's just say it has something to do with your work, right? And Capricorn, you're like, but I like my work. I don't want to be laid off. There is the possibility, or I don't want things to change in some way, because some things change. There's no doubt about that. In that change, you can start to imagine it at an elevated experience. Well, if this change then happens, then I will be able to, and then open the space. Okay? Because this might be the 2.0 version of Pluto going through your first house. And now it's hovering basically on the first house, second house cusp and whole sign. And it could really be allowing you to move into a future where you're using your skills in a more joyous way that makes you feel a sense of liberation or a sense of, purpose beyond obligation or responsibility. That's the way I'm putting it. Okay. Let's go on to our Aquariuses, rising moon, sun, and stelliums. So Aquarius, Pluto's going to go through your first house for 20 years. That is a long time. And some people may actually live in fear of that idea, but I think it's foolhardy to live in fear of the planets that want to break up things that are out of balance. I don't believe that Mars is a warrior just for the sake of war. Is it possible? Yes. But that's an individual within the aspects within the natal chart or the individual's chart. When we look at Pluto moving into your first house, this is a whole opportunity to let whatever toxic energies that have controlled you, have made you feel less than, or you yourself have felt removed from, exiled from, out of, not feeling part of the tribe. Because this is a weird thing about Aquarius. It's so concerned with humanity wanting to be better and improving it. But then it gets somewhere the individual experience gets a little lost. And that's where the Aquarius energy can feel a little like not a real exchange, inadvertently, because Aquarius thinks so widely. So we need to make peace for everyone. But the peace has to begin with me and then ripple effect. There's my mundane example. Okay, Aquarius, there's Archangel Michael asking you to have the courage to make life changes. Okay, there we go. Then we have Ariel. Somebody's been knocking on your door spiritually, telling you it's time to make changes. Oceana is offering you an opportunity to start to live your life purpose, but it comes through your emotional body. And Astera is saying to reach for the stars. And all those angels came straight up. They were not reversed at all. So now this is what Spirit's saying. It's time to take yourself literally by the bull horns and start to ride that bull into victory. And I always think it's a little step at a time. No big sweeping, fearfully, don't jump off the ledge. Let yourself down gently. All right. Archangel Michael is being joined by the restriction card. That's Saturn. Then we have the dog, love, loyalty, and sincerity. Oceana is being joined by the Joy card reversed, and Astera is being joined by the Dragon. The challenge with the fixed signs, they're all stuck in the middle, right? They're stuck between the cardinals and the mutables. And so there's this feeling of like the middle seat on an airplane. Okay. What I want to stretch out. And this can be sometimes why they tend to feel challenged in the movement. Archangel Michael and the restriction card are being joined by the 8 of Cups reversed. We have Ariel, the dog, and the 5 of Swords, which is interesting. We have Oceana, the Joy card upside down, and the Judgment card. Excuse me. And finally, we have Astera, the Dragon, and the Empress. Aquarius, Spirit is literally saying that will you actually stop long enough to make the life changes that you want for yourself, because they want you to commit and not walk away from something. The 8 of Cups is, when it's upright, is about walking away from something that's just not right. It's balanced, but it's not really lined up with what we want. And oftentimes we're seeking higher ground. When it's inverted, it's about not walking away. And then that restriction card feels as if just because you don't see movement doesn't mean there isn't movement. Because Ariel is saying that new psychic and spiritual experiences will change the way you view yourself and the world at large. Here's the dog. And I think the dog is about being loyal to yourself right now, even if other people don't understand it. This is a 5 of Swords. It's a card of contempt. It's a card where you win the battle, but it doesn't really feel very good because you're not really getting the cooperation or receptivity on the other side. So this would be your challenge on some level, to stay your ground. But are you staying your ground because it's what you want? This is what the dog is so important. It's what are you willing to be loyal to? What do you love? Because Oceana is asking Oceana is asking Aquarius to really start to dig into their emotional body. And if you are being the Joy card is upside down, and I almost wanted to tell you a little bit that, like, maybe you're blocking your own joy because you're too busy judging things, yourself, other people, other situations. Sometimes without realizing it, and we don't often think of it this way, but when Aquarius muses about the future, it muses about the idealism of the future, the potentials that could be, if we would all, come together. And there's something here that feels as if that's not happening for Aquarius. There's a push-pull feeling here of almost, because Astera is saying, basically it's saying you deserve the best to reach for the stars with your dreams. The Dragon is saying you have the power and the strength, but on some level you've got to have calm resolve. And then the Empress is interesting because here she's reversed. And there's this reversed 8 of Cups in the first position, which is making me think that you're impatient with the gestation period, or you're not embarking upon a gestation period. So let's just say this, Aquarius. Let's say you're an accountant and you've always wanted to learn the healing arts. And you start taking a class and then you start hating accounting more and more and more, and you just want to jump ship, right? But you can't. Because somewhere here, there's something about being patient with the process of staying the course of what you're endeavoring without seeing the results just yet. And this could be the complete rewrite of yourself and who you are, because this Pluto is going on in your first house. It's making that trine to Uranus, and Uranus is going to go, or Uranus, however you want to say it, is going to go retrograde soon. Or it's already retrograde, I think. I think it's already retrograde. And they're having a tight conversation. And so this is a powerful spread for you of commitment, to lack, in some ways, to withhold judgment until you've allowed for a stronger period of gestation, or you've allowed yourself to step into something and start to feel its energy and not to judge it too soon. When I first started working for myself, I lived in constant fear of money. I mean, I was like, how will it work? How will it work? And I kept I kept working in affirmation, but I also kept saying to Spirit, I feel the talons of fear gripping me. Please help release them, help loosen them up. And that's where I just get very authentic with Spirit. When I'm scared, I'm not afraid. And I don't pray not to be scared. I prayed for the wisdom of why am I scared? And that might be a bit of the difference. Yes, the room is very quiet today, but everybody's here. So, or anybody, you know, we got our peeps here. So as long as they're finding value, that's what we're looking at. All right, we're moving on to our Pisces, rising moon, sun, and stelliums. Well, we'll let Rochelle, she popped right out. Then we have Daniel reversed, Rosetta, and Ariel. You know, Pisces is so interesting right now because, oh, I will. Pisces is so interesting because we have clearly Saturn and Neptune in the early degrees of Pisces. And then we have the North Node floating around in Pisces. And this essentially is saying that we're going to dissolve any restrictions, any obligations, any old histories, because the North Node is compelling wherever it is. And here for Pisces, it's in your first house to stretch for that dream version of yourself. And the thing about using the word dream is that in the human definition, it feels unattainable, watery, vulnerable, not stable. And yet to the soul, it is the very essence of the beginning of experience. And that's why the soul wants to come to earth, because it wants to take that knowing and implement it here. So here we go. We have forgiveness upside down joining Rochelle. We have protection with Daniel reversed. We have Merlin joining Rosetta. And we have the focus card joining Ariel. The Ace of Cups is joining Rochelle and the reversed forgiveness card. We have the Eight of Cups. Now, this is straight up rather than we saw it reversed in the previous spread. We have the Death card reversed, joining Merlin and Rosetta. And then we have the Two of Swords. Okay, joining Focus and Ariel. Rochelle is the angel that really talks of the heart. You know, it's a prosperity beyond money. It's flow. It's this feeling of connection that allows me to branch out. And I want to offer this way because the forgiveness card is reversed. And this Ace of Cups is about new love. It's not new love outside. It's new love inside. It's a feeling of there's an opportunity here through. The forgiveness card is not coming through like I need to forgive something. It's almost as if whatever the situation is has already been reconciled. I don't really like the word forgiveness. It feels very disempowering. So I think this is self somewhere for my Pisces. I think this is about the self, about you are very compassionate to others. You are very much about almost molding into others. And now I feel like this is about, wow, I'm recognizing something. And now I get to open this magical pearl for me. Because this is now about not collaboration. No, you are meant to do something on your own. You're being protected. And the Eight of Cups is about walking away from any collaborations or any opinions or other people that don't serve the end goal, that don't serve this love situation, what you love. In the Angel's Advice, we have Rosetta. Yes, this is about children, but to me, in the Angel's Advice, it's about the inner child. And there's Merlin, justice, alchemy, and balance. This is also about creating magic. And here's the death card. It's reversed. I think for my Pisces, as you stand in whatever you love, whatever you want, however you want to execute something, what you fear could potentially walk away from you will not. It's the opposite. Because now Ariel's saying you have new psychic and spiritual experiences changing the way you view yourself in the world. We have the focus card. And then in this deck is the brave heart, 2 of swords. This woman is not sitting in indecision, okay, in like the normal Rider-Waite deck, but rather she's not looking at the outside world, and she's taking aim at what she wants. And she's trusting that if she takes aim, that everything will work out. So I want to offer this for my Pisces because, you know, you're on the eclipse axis. We just had a full moon lunar eclipse at 15 degrees of Pisces with a 6-month influence. 6 months from now, we'll have a new moon Piscean eclipse in 2026. So over the next 6 months, you have an opportunity to recognize that as you honor the guidance of your heart, oh, wow, I really love doing this, or I really love giving myself permission to sit down and just take a load off, or go out and boogie. You know, I don't care if you want to ride a bull or you want to lay on the couch. I don't care. Whatever it is, it's just about honoring it, and about honoring it from the individual, not from how it relates to other people that you are involved with. Okay. Because this is a walking away from imbalanced people, contracts, marriages, couplehood, and there's protection, because I actually don't think you're walking away from it. I think what ends up happening is it doesn't die, it transforms. So people start giving you the, oh, you know, Pisces is like, you know, you're invisible, you're the 12th house, you know, it's kind of, you know, it's where we sequester people and put them in jail, or we put them in an orphanage or a foster home. You know, it's where you categorize and compartmentalize people. So where I'm going with this is when you stand in what you love, then I think it ends up bringing the people back around in a stronger collaboration, a stronger exchange of energy. Okay. I'm sorry, Katerina. Okay, let's go on to our Aries, rising moon, sun, and stelliums. All right, so late-born Pisces and early-born Aries, suns, moons, rising. No joke here, okay? Your life is changing. Your life is being recalibrated and rewritten. I don't even think my teeth would make it if I tried bull riding, because I think I'd be clenching them so hard that they would break. I don't want to hurt anything at this age. I'm not into it. Hey, post it up. I've never wanted to hurt myself. I was never a daredevil. This is a funny thing about being an Aries rising. I got the heat, you know, I got the hot, but I'm very Taurian, and I didn't really realize how Taurian I was because I'm kind of lazy. I really am kind of lazy, even though I work hard. I don't like to be too busy, you know. I look at a busy calendar, I'm like, oh. So it started funny when I started to really get to know myself through my chart. And it made so much more sense. All right. Aries, Xana, you're being protected. Thank you, Jesus. Please, thank you. We need protection. You're flying high right now, Aurora's saying. Okay. Archangel Gabriel's trying to send messages to us. And then Layla. Oh, she's upside down. All right, let's see what's going on. So good to see everyone in the room. We are back. And for those of you that aren't in the chat, but you're watching, we're sending love and peace. Not just peace on the outside, peace on the inside. Okay. Xana is being joined by the Fear card. Aurora's being joined by the Eagle. Archangel Gabriel's being joined by the Raven. And Layla's being joined by the Risk card. What's world peas? Oh, world peace. And it came out world peas. World. Okay. That's funny. All right. We have the Eight of Swords joining Xana and the Fear card. We have the Emperor, which is Aries, joining the Eagle and Aurora. We have the Six of Swords joining Raven and Archangel Gabriel. And then we have the Hermit joining the Risk card and Layla. Okay. So for my Aries, with Saturn and Neptune going in on the world axis, this is a recreation, right? History is coming up, and I don't really care. Like if you've got later degrees Aries, it's not just, it's more concentrated with the early degree Aries, but it's in the house. And I know that they're moving back into Pisces, but this is technically your 12th house, and it's bringing up something. Okay. You are protected, okay, from your fears. And this is the fear of whatever you do, okay, meaning your past behaviors, your past reactions. And when I say you're being protected, it doesn't mean that you're being guarded. It means that there's some level of awareness that you have obtained, okay? And in that knowledge, there is protection. Because Aurora's saying you're flying high right now, don't descend, that you will soon inspire others with your example. The eagle is the connection to the angelic realm, but it's also about pulling yourself up and taking a leadership role. In one of my other tarot decks, the Eight of Swords has an eagle that flies above the challenges of the Eight of Swords. So here, what I think is that this is an opportunity for Aries to be independent right now, to be aware that while they have past, you have stuff. I can't say that I am not I can't say that I'm not going to be a hot person, or I'm not going to be an assertive person, or that I'm not going to, leopard doesn't change their spots. They just fade with age. But now it's about owning them in pure leadership. It's about understanding that you don't need to react every time the same way you always did. Because here in the Angel's Advice is our communications card by Archangel Michael. Here's coming into some magic here, and here's moving into smoother waters. What I think this is that Aries is somehow becoming aware of things. We also have Chiron that's been going through Aries. And, anybody with strong Aries placements is feeling the duplicity of Chiron, which is the wound and then the transformation of the wound into the gift, and also the balancer, the healer. Because what Spirit is saying in this message for Aries is this week, you must be aware of your own imprints, your evolution beyond them. And then we have, don't forget to meditate. And the Hermit is also saying, please sit in meditation and risk no action, because somewhere Spirit will then call you into action. You may feel a little bit like your hands are tied. And this is interesting because thank you so much, Rita. That's so nice. I feel a little, my hair is very frizzy today. It's very humid here. It has been for a while. So overall, Aries, what I think is going to happen is you're going to be called to be more of a strategic warrior, to understand that you aren't just having to ride this by yourself, that even though you may be triggered in some old fears, that at the same time, Spirit will alert you into forward motion. But this is maybe not the week for it. This is a week to stay tight in your communication with Spirit. Because if you feel, the wobble, this is literally like contrary. Spirit saying you're not spending enough time in nature, communing with God. And then here is literally the Hermit card, communing with God and enlightenment and risking it. So that's kind of interesting, because Aries always wants to take action, always wants to have something to take action. I know, because I kept saying to Spirit, let me understand that doing nothing is actually doing something in Lucky's case, allowing his body to do what it knows how to do in the way of healing, trusting that the supplements that I'm giving him are supporting him. And if I need to make a bigger decision, he'll let me know. It is. I had a meditation years ago that was very, very clear and very vivid, where I was being led. I did a guided meditation. And at one point, you open these doors and you're supposed to go into a room. And I went onto a beach, and it was quite a beautiful beach. And then I was met by a Bengal tiger. And in the meditation, the Bengal tiger asked me to follow it into the jungle. And there was this like wooden pathway. And when you walked straight down it, you came to a whirlpool, and it was swirling, swirling, swirling. And up until that point, the tiger was very zen, very calm. And then it told me to jump into the whirlpool. And I was like, no, I'm not jumping. And then it roared at me and it scared me. And I jumped. Now, mind you, this is all in my head. And when I jumped, the water swirled around me. It didn't take me in a spin. I was completely solid. The water was warm. It wasn't cold. It was very much like what I feel like the world is right now. Like everything is swirling around me, but at the same time, I feel kind of like I'm here in my place. So it was a very vivid meditation. And basically then the lion plucked me out of the water and was telling me that I would be protected through the chapters that swirl. Okay, so here we go. On to our Tauruses, rising moon, sun, and stelliums. I try not to talk too much, but I just can't help myself. All right, our first angel is Grace and Antoinette. This is about compassion, patience. Serena's about abundance, and Crystal is about faith. Oops. We have the Bee card upside down, joining Grace and Antoinette. We have the Bear upside down, joining Patience. We have the Raven again in the Angel's Advice, joining Serena. And then we have the Forgiveness card, joining Crystal. We have the Moon joining Grace and Antoinette and the Bee reversed. We have the Eight of Pentacles joining the History card reversed and Patience. We have the Three of Wands reversed joining the Raven and Serena. And then we have the Strength card reversed joining Forgiveness and Crystal. Okay, Taurus, this is a journey of this is an emotional journey this week, because the Grace and Antoinette having compassion, something's not moving. You're going to be in confusion. There's going to be no clarity of some kind about whatever the subject matter is. Grace and Antoinette is about having compassion. The Bee card reversed is about your being energy. So your being energy is off. And then, of course, the Moon absolutely is Piscean. So here there's something going on that's foggy, that's, duplicitous, unsure. Now in the Angel's Advice, it's interesting because we have a History card upside down in the form of the Bear. We have the Patience card. And then we have this card of doing hard work and fine tuning. And I want to offer it this way because with Taurus ruling personal history and ruling loyalty and, a little bit moving, I want to grow things. I'm willing to take my time. Here, something historic is coming up. And I almost feel like Taurus is saying, or Spirit is saying to Taurus, you could default to your old story, to how you processed before, but you've done so much work that you have an opportunity to feel the abundance of spirit, that the timing is right for something new to begin, okay? And new could be a new attitude, a new way of looking at your history, because the Three of Wands is about the future, and now this is about the past. And I think the Raven is saying that it's time to let go of the past. Look, the bones, this skull is clean. There's no meat on that anymore. Crystal is about having faith and hope, and looking into the future. Here she is. This forgiveness card, well, forgiveness. Yeah. I'm not a big fan of forgiveness, but I am of understanding a situation and having it bring more to me through that understanding. So to me, I think that the potential forgiveness is that whatever you're doing is you're working on faith of some kind. You're stepping out in a place where you don't have the answer, and you're having to and you don't like that because, we like to have our security, Taurus. We like to know where our money's coming from because the Strength card is reversed. And this almost tells me that you might be struggling a little bit with having the fortitude to do a new journey where you don't know the outcome. You're creating the outcome. But what I want to say for my Tauruses is that you've done the awareness journey. I don't like to use the word work or ascension because through your awareness, do I like this? Don't I like that? I've been here before. Let me pause. Engaging spirit, because we also want to take the Piscean energy of connection to my emotions, what's true, because if you look at sometimes Taurus could go back and forth like, well, I feel safe. No, I don't feel safe. I'm okay. I'm not okay. Taurus is the builder, and you put those seeds in the ground and you hope that crop is going to come up. You do everything you can to nurture it, but it's still vulnerable to outside influences. So here, I think it's about not contemplating the outside influences or potential scenarios moving forward, but rather staying right where you are, being aware of your being energy, be a little gentle with yourself as you wobble potentially between feeling secure and insecure, and the week will finish itself out in a way that actually makes more sense to me, because Crystal's saying have faith and hope, and the forgiveness card kind of means to me something will happen, but I'm still in process. Okay. On to our Geminis, rising moon, sun, and stelliums. Just call me, see what's up. Oh, yes, we're sending small lots of love for her body to come back online and balance, and to teach her doctors what can happen when you're connected to source energy. How powerful you are. Okay, here we go. Gemini, rising moon, sun, and stelliums. All right, we've got Mystique, but it's upside down. We've got Archangel Michael. We've got Azure. And then we've got Archangel Gabriel. I knew Archangel Gabriel was going to come out. I could feel it. Something was going to come out with Gemini and their communication. Okay, here we go. We have the Love card joining Mystique upside down. We have Disruption joining Archangel Michael. We have the Fear card joining Azure. And then we have the King joining Archangel Gabriel. We have the Sun joining the Love card and Mystique upside down. We have the Strength card upside down joining Disruption and Archangel Michael. We have the King of Cups upside down joining the Fear card and Azure. And in the final position, we have the High Priestess. Okay, so this is actually a message from Spirit. Absolutely. Mystique is like, stop charging ahead, please. Stay put, slow down. There's something about checking in with your light, your sun, and what you love, and how much you love and not what you love. And I don't mean this in the way of I love other people. This is not about other people. It's about what am I doing for me? This love card is also a 45, which is a 9 when you reduce it. So it's almost as if this card to me is saying, you've come full circle somewhere. You've come to the end of a road, and now it's time to stop and really look at how am I taking care of the light that shines within me, Gemini. How am I doing that? Am I really beating the drum of my own heart? Because here is the Strength card reversed. This echoes the Leo energy of my own self. You know, Leo rules the performer, the child, the comic. And I feel like that's a self card. Here's a disruption card, which is feeling like I need to disrupt on some level, not my partnerships, but to remember the priority, because Archangel Michael is asking you to make changes, have the courage to make those changes. Now we have Azure saying your desired outcome will happen in the near future. Have patience and faith and don't try to force it. But at the same time, the Fear card and the King of Cups is upside down. Somewhere, Gemini, whatever you would be contemplating in order to implement this Sun and Love card, there's some sort of trepidation or fear attached to it. And you're missing Spirit's message. You can't hear what's coming through, because Archangel Gabriel is literally about communications. The King here is about taking authority. And again, the High Priestess is upside down. So somewhere you're in your head versus in your communications with Spirit. I would offer, that this week might be best served almost like doing Om meditations, maybe not a guided meditation, but something where you could just focus in on one tone and then allow that to sort of, I almost feel like I'm sitting for like 15 minutes and my mind is going back and forth. And then all of a sudden I feel a rhythm with the Om, and there could just be a split second of something that comes through that allows you to feel more complete. I also note that the High Priestess being upside down, see the big old moon is upside down. There's something about your emotional body that you're ignoring, or you're not listening to, or you're not letting come up. And if for some reason it is a fear, then maybe it's not about surrendering to the fear, but actually asking what the probability of that fear is right now. Example, I know that Lucky's going to cross over. I know that he's got these transits. I know I have transits. Am I going to live in fear while he's here and disrupt all these moments? Because the last day and a half, somewhere I shifted out of the fear and the loss, and I went into appreciation and gratitude. And right now he's laying in his spot. He's peacefully doing what he does, what he's been doing. So I'm going to just stay the course. I'm going to give him the herbs, and I'm going to remember my vibration affects him. So when I believe that he's doing well, he'll do better. This is where the challenge with the Gemini is, because it's not just cerebral in its mercurial aspect. It's also an information provider. And sometimes when in its attempt to get the information out quickly, some information may not completely be assimilated. And that's where I think the Fear card and the Love card coming out, here's the foundation and here's in the angel's advice. These feel like we're helping you work through your fears. Just stay the course, focus on what you love. So when I get nervous about Lucky crossing over prematurely, in my opinion, because he should be 5 million years old, I focus on how much gratitude I have for the love I have for him, because it was that love I had for him that made me push to have my own business. And I don't know if he hadn't come into my life, if I would have made that change. So that's really helped. I'm so sorry to hear that. Just call me. See, my grandfather's birthday was September 3rd. And then yesterday was the day he crossed over. And it was not lost on me that Lucky had a good day, because I was doing a lot of praying. And I felt the guidance of those that love me on the other side, helping him be at peace, be at ease in this, whatever this is, transition, phase, chapter. All right, we're going on to our Cancers, rising, moon, sun, and stelliums. Then we'll do our Leos and our Virgos, and we'll be done for the day. It's a long broadcast, sorry. So nice that people say I look good, because I really feel like my hair looks super frizzy right now. And I just can't stand having it down. I want it up all the time now. It's too hot here. All right. Cancer. Our first angel is Crystal, have faith and hope. The second is Rochelle, honoring your heart. The third is Shanti, peace. And the final is Isaiah, something is gestating. Something is wanting to give birth to something new. Oh yeah, you'll trade me. You'll take my frizzy hair. Okay. Hey, you know, I actually once cut my hair and I sold it to Kathy Lee Crosby, and she made extensions out of it. It was before they were extensions. One of my hairdressers sold it to her for $75. I remember. Okay. Cancer. Crystal is saying have faith and hope, and it's being joined by the goblin. A little bit of a challenge there. We have Rochelle, and then the Earth Fairy is reversed. Shanti and the Love card. Isaiah and the King. Okay. You know, again, the cardinals, Cancer being one of them, you're going to feel a square from the Aries energy, from that Saturn and Neptune. And that's not always easy. Well, no, let's just say it is not easy. I try to make things seem a little softer, but no, it's not easy, because we really have to extract our truth from some of these transits. And what happens is our history and our humanness and our ego hit first before the soul's voice is getting its opportunity to speak. Because everywhere you go, the humanness is supported. The human fear, the human disempowerment. All right, so we have Crystal, we have the Goblin, and then we have the beautiful Six of Wands of victory here. We have Rochelle, we have the Five of Swords, and then the Earth Fairy is reversed. We have the Lovers card reversed, the Love card, and Shanti. Okay. And finally, we have the Sun, the King, and Isaiah. All right, so for my Cancers, Crystal says, have faith and hope. There's more on the horizon that you can't see. The ego, as represented by the Goblin, is honestly, it feels very much, Cancer is not used to taking care of themselves. They're just like Pisces in some respects, because they're the mother, the nurturer, the ruler of home and hearth, that oftentimes the focus is all on the outside, and that can feel a little depleting. But here, there's victory in recognition of the ego. And I want to offer it this way, because to me, the square that's happening, especially for the early born Cancers and late born Cancers, are feeling Chiron squaring you. So Cancer energy is kind of inflamed, but the victory comes in the recognition where your ego tells you that you won't win, where your ego, is sticking its tongue out at you and saying, no matter what, things aren't going to work out for you. So but that is not true, because Rochelle is saying, stay close to your heart, that things have not come into the physical yet. Something is still being manifested. And you could potentially fear that if you get what you want, that you will pay, there'll be a consequence of some kind. That, this is the challenge, when somebody plays the maternal role of nurturer, and then they get tired, I need to take care of me. Whoever is the object of the nurturing usually has a little moment, they're like, wait, what about me? It's why when you have your South Node in Cancer, they'll often refer to it as the child, the one that needs to be constantly nurtured. Because here, what's happening is that peace and love are being offered to you, but you're going to have to make a choice that you wouldn't normally make, which would be to choose yourself rather than the partnership or the other person. And that's further evidenced by the Sun, which represents the self, the ego, your light that you shine in the world. And now it's about really stepping into that with authority and understanding that as you give birth to new ideas about who you are and how that nurtures the other people in your life. We have been raised throughout the globe that in order to nurture someone, you put focus on them. I got to run my ass off for my kids. I got to get up. I la, 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 la. But being able to demonstrate balance between loving something else and then loving the self is really what the Cancer energy is about. And here it's being called forth to be nurtured, to be recognized, to be step in awareness. And even if you think other people might be pissed off at you for a bit, too bad. They'll get over it and they'll get past it and you'll feel better for it. So that's what I'm saying for my Cancers. And it may be very tense because especially the late born Cancers, having that square, anyone who's got 25, 27, 25 to 29, maybe even 20 to 29 degree Cancer energy is feeling the square to Chiron. And that's the wound and the gift. Oh, these times, we really have come in at such transformational times, such times of no good deed goes unpunished. I used to have a boyfriend that said that all the time. And of course, what you declare, what you say happens, right? That's why you never want to say my unless you want to own something. So my $1 million is fabulous, but my Cancer is not. The Cancer is better. I'm just saying that words aren't just words, they're vibrations. Okay, onward and upward to our Leos, rising moon, sun, and stelliums. I have to hurry now because I suddenly got to pee. Whoops. Make me laugh. Leo. Leo, 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 Leo. My little kitties. All right. Our first angel is Bethany. That's self-care. Then we have Astera, reaching for the stars. We have Merlin, which is confusion. And Isaiah is about starting something. Now we have Pluto opposing early Leo. And again, this could be in your work house or it could be in your partnership house. I tend to feel more of the work thing going on, but there's no indication here of that. There's the butterfly joining Bethany. There's the king joining Astera. There is the raven in the same position every time it's come out, has been in the angel's advice. And then we have the letting go joining Isaiah. The Strength card, Leo, is your card, and it's coming out in the foundational position. Something is really coming up for you about not giving up, persevering past what you can see with your eyeballs, past what you can see with your history. Then we have the Eight of Cups, the King and Astera. Then we have the Three of Wands reversed with Raven and Merlina. And then we have the Empress. Okay. I want to offer this. Leo, Bethany is all about self-care. The butterfly is all about a transformation of some kind, coming out of a dark place that then brings beauty. And the Strength card is about taming the beast within. I think that you're going through some sort of process where you're being required to be more tenacious about seeing the beauty in your life, seeing the process in your life, claiming that. Astera is saying to reach for the stars with your dreams and desires. And I believe the king is asking you to step up into mastery and to walk away from anything that doesn't serve the ultimate goal, where you want to be, where you want to go, what this focus is. And when you walk away, this is not about the ending of relationships or even situations. It's about focus. You can have a situation in your life or people in your life, but they are not necessarily moving towards the brass ring. So when you carve out time there, it's in relation to more focus this direction, because Merlina is talking about confusion. The Raven is talking about timing, synchronistic events, and you cannot predict the future right now and how it's going to play out. You can only nurture and tend to that which you want to create. Isaiah is this woman is pregnant. This is all about nurturing something. The Empress is pregnant. So something is in a gestational process, and there's no need to let it go. This is reversed, but rather allowing for the process as it walks, because I want to offer it this way for the Leos. The process will probably be, if it seems like it's taking a long time, the long time could be that it'll be more solid, it'll be more stable versus having it happen quickly and being unstable in some respects. This is really about staying the course. And it's about staying the course without having any real evidence of how the course is going to play out. All right, let's go on to our final sign, our Virgos, rising moon, sun, and stelliums. I apologize, Small, if my phone has been going off. Even though people know I'm on the show, they're still texting me. So if it's been dinging in your ear, I apologize. I tried to turn the sound off. I don't know if it worked. Okay, Virgo. Main thing for Virgo that the minute I said the word is all about sort of being and recognizing where that perfectionism, where that sense of process, where I'll see it, I'll believe it when I see it is a little Virgo. Okay, so now we're gonna shift into I intend it. Oh, good. I'm glad you don't hear anything. Awesome. I don't want to bust your eardrums. South Node going through your first house is about releasing criticism. It's about allowing the toxic judgments or perfectionism or the routines, what you're enslaved to, what you have. Virgo, we talk a lot about Capricorn being, a restrictive sign. Virgo can be very restrictive because it can be so married to its daily routines, it can't shift. And I knew a guy who I'm convinced had a stellium in Virgo, although I never saw his chart. He used to get up every day at the exact same time. And he would go through this morning routine where he would turn the shower on. And as the shower warmed up, he would put his egg on. And then he would jump in the shower and take the shower for 5 minutes and then come out and his egg would be ready. And it drove me crazy, to be honest with you. There was no veering from that routine. Now, I'm not saying every Virgo is like that. But Virgo definitely represents process of some kind, routine of some kind. Spirit is going to ask you to look at that routine and see if it's serving your expansion, your joy, or is it enslaving you? We have we have Opal. This is about children. We have Archangel Raphael, which is about healing. We have Athena, which is about inner strength and power. And then we have Isaiah, which is about gestation. Process and being protected during that process and the changes that are required during that process. We have the hawk upside down. We have the focus card. We have Athena. Athena's being joined by the high priestess upside down. Isaiah's being joined by the stag. Ooh, okay. Spirit's trying to get messages through to you, Virgo, but I don't know if you can hear them right now because you would have to tap into your inner child and believe or suspend reality for a minute or practicality. If we think about, you just had a new moon. You had 2 new moons in a row, one at 0 degrees and then one at 29 degrees. And the 29-degree one was an eclipse. So something is happening. All right, there's the Empress. I wonder if something has to do with, there's the Queen of Cups upside down. There's the Four of Wands upside down. And there's the 8 of Cups. Okay. Some of this, could be actual childbearing, but our audience is a wee bit more mature than that. Because I'm going to say that the opal represents the inner child. And that somewhere Spirit is through the South Node is trying very much to give you signs and omens, but you're missing them. You're not getting the sign and the omen. You're going to have the innocence of a child on some way to listen to Spirit in a way, because something is starting to grow. Cece, you're funny. It's very, yeah, Virgo can be extremely difficult sometimes because if you want a neat guy and somebody who you can depend on to get things done, but then you try to shift them and it's impossible. Because I want to offer this for my Virgos. This is the Archangel Raphael, is the healing angel, right? But here we have the focus card. And I literally believe that Virgo's not focusing in on their emotional body, not standing in true nurturing energy for, it's like you're running the machine. You're running the machine and you're running it somewhere, and Spirit's saying, whoa, slow the bus down. Look at what you're doing. If you love what you're doing, fabulous. But if for some reason it's something that has enslaved you to a routine, because Athena is saying that you can take loving action to move in a direction. But again, the High Priestess is inverted. We're not listening to our intuitive body. We're not listening to our emotional body. And we're actually thwarting our own joy and celebration. So Spirit is saying it's time to start looking at where you're stubborn, where you won't move, where you won't budge, and to walk away from anything that doesn't serve you in a way that brings you closer to God, to angels, and to who you are as a soul living on this earth. When I look at this particular deck, the Eight of Cups seems kind of magical to me because of the wind blowing and this lavender skirt. It feels like, there's fresh air, and I'm seeing the ocean, and the ocean, as I look out on it, represents Mother Earth and Gaia and my emotional body, and embracing that. And all the shells around her skirt and the seagulls flying make me feel as if, and the sun and the moon are both in this card. And so there's a beginning of a new moon here, but it's walking away from that which doesn't serve my spirit. So, was there a ding? Did you hear a ding? I don't know if there was a ding just recently. But okay. So that's it for today. I want to thank everybody for being here. It felt like a really good Sunday to me. Like we're back. I felt like my mojo feels a little more like my old self. So I want to thank you all for being here. I will be back next Sunday. Small wildflowers. We'll see what happens here. She's got a big week ahead of her. And, well, I'm glad that it wasn't bothersome. I try to tone it down. And I think some people should know that I'm here on Sundays, but people tend to forget. So, All right, everybody. It's great to see you. Sending lots of love. I pray for you all every single night for you to feel peace during these interesting and transformational times, requiring our awareness to be not what we see, but what we feel and where we want to go. So I love you most. Be good to yourselves. Be gentle with yourselves. If you all want to get a reading, I am available for readings, both astrology work as well as intuitive readings. Just reach out to me at info@TeriHunter. Information's below in the description. Peace out. I'll see you next week.